Myth criticism is a unique way of analyzing literature that looks at the deeper symbolic meanings behind stories rather than focusing on historical context or the author's life. Instead of examining a writer's personal experiences, myth critics explore how ancient myths, collective human experiences, and recurring patterns shape literary works. This method helps us to see how literature connects to universal human experiences and fundamental truths. Northrop Frye introduced the idea that literature follows certain patterns and structures that appear across different cultures and time periods. These patterns, often drawn from mythology, give literature a sense of unity and timelessness. Myth critics believe that these repeated patterns, called archetypes, reveal the deep structure of human storytelling. Myth criticism was difficult to develop because until the 19th century there were no proper tools to study it. It became more refined with the rise of anthropology, psychology, and cultural history. Some scholars have been skeptical of myth criticism because sometimes it appears mystical or overly speculative. There has been confusion over definitions and methods within the field, making it challenging for scholars to agree on a single approach. Anthropology has played a crucial role in myth criticism. In the late 19th and early 20th century, British scholars known as the Cambridge Hellenists used anthropological discoveries to study Greek mythology. They included Jane Harrison, Gilbert Murray, and F. M. Cornford, but the most influential was Sir James Frazer. His book, The Golden Bough, examined how myths and religious rituals reflect the basic human need to understand life and nature. Fraser identified a common theme in many myths: the cycle of death and rebirth, represented by gods like Osiris, Thamus, and Adonis, who die and return to life to symbolize nature's renewal. One of the key ideas Fraser introduced was the concept of the sacrificial king. In many ancient societies, rulers were believed to embody the life force of their people. If a king became weak or sick, it was thought that the land and the people would suffer. To prevent disaster, the ruler was sometimes killed or replaced to ensure continued prosperity. Over time, actual sacrifices were replaced with symbolic acts such as rituals or festivals. This idea of sacrifice for renewal also appears in modern literature, where a character may serve as a scapegoat, taking on the sins of society to bring about change or renewal. The scapegoat archetype is another important concept in myth criticism. In many ancient traditions, a scapegoat was used to carry away the sins or misfortunes of a community. This practice appears in religious rituals, folk traditions, and even modern literature. Writers like Shirley Jackson, in her work The Lottery, use the scapegoat theme to explore society's need for purification and renewal. The idea that an individual must suffer for the greater good continues to be a powerful literary theme. Myth criticism is particularly useful in analyzing drama, as seen in the works of Greek tragedians like Sophocles and Aeschylus. Their plays were often performed during festivals celebrating the death and rebirth of gods like Dionysus. One famous example is Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, which is based on a well known myth. The story follows Oedipus, a king who unknowingly fulfills a prophecy that he will kill his father and marry his mother. His eventual downfall brings purification and renewal to his kingdom, demonstrating the sacrificial hero motive. Shakespeare's Hamlet is another example of mythological storytelling. The story of Hamlet follows many of the same themes as Greek tragedies. Scholars like Gilbert Murray have pointed out similarities between Hamlet and ancient myths. Hamlet, like Oedipus, is a hero who must uncover the truth about a terrible crime. The play explores themes of death, renewal, and sacrifice, showing that Hamlet's suffering is necessary to cleanse the kingdom of corruption. In Hamlet, the imagery of disease and decay symbolizes the corruption in Denmark. The idea that the health of a kingdom depends on the moral state of its ruler is a mythic concept that appears in many traditions. In mythic criticism, this is linked to the idea of divine kingship, where the well being of a nation is tied to the fate of its ruler. Hamlet must ultimately sacrifice himself to restore order, making him a tragic but necessary hero. Beyond drama, myth criticism can also be applied to poetry. For example, Andrew Marvell's poem To His Coy Mistress contains archetypal themes of time and immortality. The poem explores the idea that time is fleeting and that love can offer a form of immortality. Marvel uses imagery associated with the passage of time, death, and renewal, much like the myths of resurrection. The poem reflects the age old human desire to escape time's limits, making it a fitting subject for mythological analysis. Myth criticism shows us that literature is deeply connected to universal human experiences. It reveals how myths and archetypes continue to shape the way we tell stories, from ancient Greek tragedies to modern poetry and novels. By understanding these patterns, we can appreciate literature on a deeper level, seeing how the struggles and triumphs of characters reflect our own human journey.